beautiful peeps. Welcome to Out the Brew Cupboard Chatty Ramble with me, Carly of Bardware. Hello, my wonderful peeps. How are you? Hope you are all amazingly well. I just got back from an amazing weekend at Glastonbury Medieval Fair with my wonderful bestie friend Em and lovely Charlene and Em's other half Gareth, with the Frog Valley Emporium. Very exciting. So we take Bardware Frog Lane, we take the stall, and we take Emma's stall, Witches Valley, and we combine them and we become Frog Valley Emporium. It's absolutely brilliant. If you follow the Facebook page, just pop up and see the photos. It was such good fun. I love it. I got a real draw with Glastonbury Abbey. Me and Em have got a real draw with Glastonbury Abbey, and I love medieval history. So for me, this is like one of the ultimate weekends that we get to take the stall out. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing. It was awesome. I spent all weekend in my medieval dress, which strangely enough I feel very comfortable in. It's very comfortable to wear. The second day I ended up having to buy myself a wimple because I ended up waking up with a headache. But that was my fault. I was silly. I had a migraine because I didn't keep up my fluids. The stall was really busy. And you just sort of end up, time runs away with you. And before you know it, you've not drunk anything. You realised you've probably not peed as many times as you should have done in a day. You know, when you've had 2 pees the whole day, you're like, yeah, okay. And then I paid for it the next day. So that was a bit silly. But, pardon me, because I know of the problem, I dealt with it quite quickly. So I had to wear a headache strip, which I know always works. But I had to cover it up with a wimple because you couldn't really have medieval dress with a thing stuck on your head. Anyhow, problem solved. But it was absolutely phenomenal. There you go, see, I'm on the phone, and what happens? Somebody rings me. Shall we switch that off? I'm recording a podcast and somebody rings it. Oh, hello, little bobbin. There's a little bobbin sat on my washing line outside. It's a wet, miserable day. I will carry on recording because, I'm not going to cut it off. So, yeah, hey-ho, apologise for the vibration and me going quiet. There's somebody ringing me from Cumrock. Has anybody ever heard of Cumrock? Anyhow, if you know where it is, drop me a message. So what was I saying? Oh, we're talking about an amazing weekend. Yeah, so it was an amazing weekend. And it was I thought I'd come up and tell you all about it, how amazing it was. I feel very drawn to medieval times. I always have done. I absolutely love it. I love Glastonbury Abbey. And there's nothing better than walking across the Abbey and yeah, it is really like coming home. It's amazing. I didn't appreciate it as much this time as I normally do. But yeah, I think it's because I was sort of whisked along with doing everything. Normally we sort of take 5 minutes out, but the way things were working this time, they were shutting the gates at 7, and so we couldn't sort of appreciate being in the closed space with not many people around. Never mind. But I still absolutely love it. I'm there with some amazing people on the stall. I'm there with all my mates, so it's really good fun. And then we get to stay in a B&B and we have a nice meal, so that's really nice. And meet some amazing people and have people coming back, which is amazing, which is one of the reasons why I'm coming up and doing a podcast. One, obviously I've missed you guys the weekend, but two, I also want to talk about what people it made me think. There was a lovely young lady who we met last year, and she's cracking. She's lovely. She's a cracking girl. She's amazing personality. Now, when we met her last year, she spoke to Em, and you could sort of see she was a little bit, wavering around on her path, not quite knowing really what she was doing or where she was going or who she was really. getting to know who she was. She didn't really know, but she obviously felt a little bit disconnected from everything, wasn't quite sure what she wanted to do with herself and her path, felt a bit lost, didn't have any, just felt, like we all have and we all do and we still do. We just felt a little bit disconnected from everything. And she come to the stall and she had a chat with them mainly, and then a chat with myself. And she came back this year. And I really wish, and I said this to her, I really wish we could video people or take a video if we have CCTV on the stall. If we had that, have that video footage of that person and then play it back to them when we see them a year later. This has happened so many times. And I caught sight of her and she was like striding towards the stall, and her clothes have changed, her mannerisms have changed, her persona, her confidence, her everything. But it wasn't an arrogant confidence. It was a here I am and this is me and accept me for who I am. It was amazing. She walked across and it was just like, I looked at her and I recognised her face and I was like, wow, look at you. It was this calm, confident, settled, grounded, comfortable young lady who was completely the different contrast to who we'd seen the year before. And she was phenomenal. And I was just like, wow. I said to her, if we could, I wish I'd videoed you a year ago and showed you how much and how far you have come in that year, or how much, what a different person you are now. Because it was just, I just don't think we appreciate how far we come. And I just don't think we forget. Because I remembered when I spoke to her, I said, wish you could see how far you come. Or I said to her, don't forget to look back. And she goes, oh yeah, I guess I've gained a lot and learnt a lot. But I think she realises, but I don't think we realise how much. And it isn't until I see other people and see how much they have moved further down what they are doing and further down their path. I think other people see it more than obviously yourself. But it made me think of how far Frog Valley Emporium has, come, how far I've come personally on my path, how far Em and everybody around me has moved further down. It's just amazing. Oh, she was just amazing. She completely blew my mind. And Em wasn't on the stall at the time, but I said to her, please do come back. I said, because I think, Em would love to see you. She really would. And she said, oh, yeah, well. So we were sort of talking about what she'd sort of done. She said, I've read a lot. I've gathered a lot of knowledge, but she took her time. She said, I've taken my time. I'm settling into what I like doing. And then she turned around and she said, I'm working more with Lilith. Now, this is really interesting because this is about the second or third person I've heard that are embracing Lilith's strengths and that positive girl power, but not in an arrogant way, but just taking that strength and working with her. And I did gift her a piece of black moonstone. And I said to her, just pick yourself out a piece of black moonstone. I said, have you got any? And she said no. And I said, well, just take some. And so she went off with that. And she just, as I say, that's the second or third person, which is quite interesting. But she's just phenomenal, absolutely amazing. But you could see, that you could see it in her. You could see that embracing that strength, embracing that comfortable standing in her own shoes and not worried about what everybody else would think what shoes everybody else should think she should be wearing. It's brilliant. And when she came back and Em was there, before I even said, because Em was going, I know who you mean. And Em just went, wow, look at you. And Yeah, absolutely amazing. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So it's moments like that, because there was a couple of things she said, and it makes me realise. And there was a conversation I had with we all had collectively with another lady, and actually talking back to you guys now, it's made me realise again how much we create a ripple effect, as a stall, and then everybody in the world individually as a person. Because the young lady said, after coming to the stall last year, and chatting to Em, how much it helped her, and that's created a ripple effect. And she's just unbelievable. Just absolutely unbelievable. And then I was talking to another lady about tarot cards, and there's another. See, it's going off again. Who's this now? Oh, Hitchin. Somebody in Hitchin. I was talking to another lady. She's got tarot cards, and obviously we've got Bardware tarot cards. So I was talking to her about those, and I said, "Oh, I don't read tarot," and I explained to her about the tarot cards. So I said, my dad used to read tarot, and we were talking about the responsibilities of reading cards and reading for people, and the amount of responsibility we have as card readers, healers, therapists, and on the stall as well. It made me think how much I mean, we know we've got a lot of responsibility on the stall, and we know we have lots of people that come and talk to us about varying bits and pieces. And we're very aware of it, but in that moment it made me really aware of the responsibility we have to be honest and true to the people that come to the stall, as well as ourselves. It's been one of those weekends where you look back, you go to Monday and you start looking back at the weekend in a whole. And it was really quite fascinating. But he just, made me realise how much we don't realise. I think a lot of the information in the seminars, as Grandad and Jazzy call them, and Em call them, a lot of our seminars that we do on the stall talking to people are, channeled in some form or the other. Information comes from wherever, I don't know, but it feels right to talk about that, but I don't think about the responsibility. When you think about having that responsibility, and what you're saying to people can be very influential, because, some people, are at a vulnerable point in their life. This young lady, last year, she wasn't vulnerable, but she was at a crossroads in what she was doing. But what's the word? Influential, being very, people, you influencing people, not meaning to, you don't go out and meaningly influence people, but you are. And it just made me realise how much responsibility we have. So that's why you can always guarantee, you come to Witches Valley or Bardware Frog Lane or Frog Valley Emporium or any of the fairs that we organise, or, anything that is in our circle, you can always guarantee our circle of friends and stalls and readers and healers are all good, honest people. Because I think we're all very aware of the influence we have, but it has, as I say, it did make me think. Really did take me aback and made me think how much we have that ripple effect on people. And I'm very honoured and humbled to be allowed to do what we do. or to be allowed to do what we do, to be in those situations at those times with those circumstances, meeting those people. Very, very humbled and honoured, and it's quite something to help people to that degree. When you see that degree of progression, or that degree of finding themselves, it's mind-blowingly. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. You look and think, wow, that's gone from, you've given somebody enough confidence and enough self-belief to be able to go forward, and you've handed them enough tools to go forward and for them to create their path in front of them. That is absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable. And like I always say, it's a sign of a good healer. So we're well and truly living up to Frog Valley Emporium, Witches Valley. We're well and truly living up to our healer / witch, if you want to put it in that terminology. Well and truly living up to our name and our meaning and ethos and the whole thing. So just sort of really wanted to share that. Oh, there's another wonderful, interesting conversation I had with a lovely family about witches in general, to be fair. They were really interested, which was really nice. So I was stood outside the store. We were talking about where the name came, the tag came from and what it was all about. And they were really interested. And that was nice. And it has got me to thinking, and I know, as I've had readings and I've had lots of people say, when you're going to start a witch school? And, well, I don't feel as though I need to do that, because the knowledge I have, it's easily accessible for everybody to get hold of the knowledge that I have. But then I suppose it's my version and my take on on knowledge, isn't it? The knowing of. But it was just really nice to enlighten people on what it was all about, and they weren't worried or anything. They were really interested. It was quite ironic. We were in Glastonbury grounds, and there's me saying about the Christians took it to, took the pagan celebrations, join them in together, so it was easier crossover from paganism to being a pagan to Christianity. It was a bit like, sorry guys, but it was really interesting, and I ended up, and I don't normally do this. One of the ladies I was talking to was really interested, and bless her, she said, she was of her wiser years. And she said, I'd love to be a white witch. And I said, well, you already are. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, we're all capable. We're all healers. I said, explained about witches. It's a tag. It's healers. Da, 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 da. We all have a combination of everything. And I said, it's already there. I said, go with your intuition and your gut instinct, and go with what you feel's right. Be your own person. You didn't have to sit and read lots of books. I said, the best thing to do is get out there and feel it. And she was like, oh, really? I said, yeah. Just get out there and feel it. And I found myself, and I don't stand there and tell people I can pick up auras or see, or the wrong word. Let's start on the proper terminology. There's one person I've seen colours with, and bless her, she's no longer with us now. Dear lady, always called her my violet lady, because or lilac lady, because that's what she portrayed. She was an amazing healer. And I had the wonderful pleasure of meeting her at Tetbury, and then she was also one of my healers at my fairs a couple of times. And she was healing, and she was sat opposite me, and she was doing some healing, and that's the only time I've sort of physically seen a lilac light. And it was the most surreal experience. I had to look away and look back again, and look away and look back, and it felt like I was being obtrusive. I was really, looking into what somebody was doing, and I kept looking away because I was like, oh no, I shouldn't be seeing that. But after it happened, I went and said to her, you do realise there was this lilac light between your hands and what you were doing? And she was like, really? I said, yeah, honestly. I said, I've never seen anything like that before. And she was like, oh, she said, thank you so much. She said, because I was really starting to doubt myself. And this is a lady who's wiser in her years, has been, she's been healing and been a therapist for years. For years and years and years. So, all of us that doubt it and things, you still doubt it no matter how long you've been there. So that imposter syndrome thing was kicking in. So she was starting to doubt what she was doing, if it was working. So I told her about this, and she was like, oh, thank you so much. I said, honestly, it was the most surreal experience ever. And funny enough, the lady that was receiving the healing then went and she'd had an aura photography done, had some healing with this lovely lady, then went and sat and had another aura photography done. And where I saw the light and the lady was working on, there was lilac around and lavender colour around where she was working. It was brilliant. Oh, it was brilliant. So that's one of those moments when you go, oh, there we go. And this happened to me yesterday. This is where I'm going. Honestly, it's a long-winded way around. So, yeah. So when I say this lady asked me and said, do I see auras? I don't always physically see it like squiggly in front of my eyes, like when you look at a light bulb, or you look at the sun and you go indoors and everything's green, or you look at a light bulb and you turn away and you've got dots everywhere. I don't always see it like that. It's very rare. I think it's happened twice. I say once was with this lovely lady healer and once with somebody else, but I get this feeling, and this feeling turns into a thought. So, I mean, you'll understand what I mean, but I looked at this lady said, do you read auras? And I don't normally go yes. I would normally go no. And I tell her, yeah, I do. I do. Not around a regular basis, but I do. I can do. Because I find it very intrusive, because it's someone's very personal space. And that to me is a real, it's not something I shout about very often. Maybe I should do. I don't know. Anywho, yeah, it was one of those things. I haven't trained to be. I've just read, embraced, and gone with it. Anyway, that's by the by. So I was talking to this lady, and she said about it, and I suddenly found myself going, yeah, I read auras. And she went, oh, that's really interesting. She said, what's that lady's aura? And this lady stood to my left, and I looked at her. And I got this feeling of green. Now, I thought to myself, I did say it out loud. I said, well, I'm getting green. I said, but you are in a green coat, and you're stood. She had this lovely growing out the back of her head with this lovely green beech tree, because all the beeches are coming into leaf. And I said, but no, it's heart chakra. I said, so I'm getting you're a very loving person, very heart. I said, but hang on a minute. I'm getting this feeling of orange. And I looked at her and I said, so orange. I said, so I'm going down to your sacral chakra. I can see is going on here. I said, but orange is a very energized colour. I said, so I've got this sudden splurge of energy. I said, but I'm also getting, I said, lower stomach problems? And she said, no. I said, okay, you got a hormone imbalance, or there's a hormone things going on? And she looked at me and she went, yeah, I'm 17 weeks pregnant. And I did actually ask permission to do a little whoopee dance. I think they thought I was completely nuts. I did this little whoopee dance and danced around in a circle. and yeah, it was absolutely amazing. But I got this feeling. I didn't see the colour visually on her, but I got this feeling this thought that comes into my head, and I could see it in my third eye, I could see, or my imagination, whatever you want to put it, or in your mind's eye, I could see this orange colour, which then directed me down to her sacral chakra and her hormone imbalance. But the whole green and the orange was this immense feeling of love. So I think she very much, bless her, obviously very happy that she's pregnant, which is lovely. So that was phenomenal. And then there's obviously the lady that asked me originally, said, what about me? So I sort of did hers, and that was really interesting as well, because she's obviously very keen. She's very spiritual, But also one thing that popped into my head, and I really wish I'd said it, was about keeping grounded or make sure that she breathes. And her friend popped up and said, she's very buzzy. And I wish I'd said, you need to ground. But I asked her to breathe with me. So I said to her, can you just... I said, do you know about grounding? So she said, oh, no, I don't. And I said, right, okay, so your breath work. I don't know. So it's simple. I said to her, this is so simple. I said, you take a deep breath, breathe it down through your feet, and just let it all go. And within 2 breaths, she'd completely gone from buzzing like a trooper to a lot calmer. And I think even her friend noticed the difference. But it was amazing. It's moments like that make you, when I look back on them, I don't look back very often, because if I look back on stuff that happens too much, I think it would melt my head. So I tend to look back a little bit and go, wow, that was amazing. So looking back on it now, I'm now starting to look at it and go, that was phenomenal. I was like, so I have to go, oh yeah, okay, and let it go, because those would just melt your brain. But there's another group of people that have had a chat, that looks at things differently, that have had another experience that might start them off or help them along their path, creating that ripple effect. And how amazing is that? So I think sometimes we have to learn to embrace, and this sort of leads on hopefully to another conversation that I'm going to have with somebody who will get her up on the podcast, of realizing what we've accomplished, and really, I mean, when I say really appreciating it, I mean really appreciating it. Really, as me saying I don't look at it too much because it melts my brain. I think I need to look at it more, not analyse it, just go, wow, and really appreciate how phenomenal that was, that experience, that piece of knowledge that I've gained. Because I don't do aura readings as a rule. But to me, that's just, the way things are working, the way the universe is working, how everybody was working at that moment in time. I was put in a situation like going on a radio show, funny enough, at Glastonbury, or what happens at Glastonbury. 4 years ago, I met Chloe and Peggy, and they went, will you come on the radio show? And I found myself going, yeah, all right then. And normally, I know I'm a very chatty person, but normally I'd go, oh no, I'd wet myself. I just went, yeah, all right then. And exactly the same happened over the weekend with the aura readings. In fact, I've just realised exactly the same happened. That's unreal. Do you do? Yeah, I do them. I said exactly the same. That's nuts. Right, in 4 years' time, guys, if I'm still doing podcasts, will you remind me of what I said 4 years ago? Just, that is unreal. That is unreal. Absolutely unreal. Oh, dearie me. Anywho. Yeah, so it's just really a random chatty ramble, half an hour long, random chatty ramble, really just to say, don't forget, guys, you really need to just look back and really appreciate sometimes how far you've come and what you've done and be really humbled by it. And I think that's what keep you grounded and is what keep your feet on the floor, is to realise how far you've progressed and also how many people you've helped along the way, creating that ripple effect. It's also a thing to remember on how influential we all are to each other, even when we don't realise it. So, things that are said, how you act towards people. We all influence each other in the most smallest of ways, not even realising it. So you just have to be aware of everything around you. You influence yourself because your thought patterns create how you are. But I think it's just be aware of, everything that you sort of, the tiniest little things can have an effect on somebody. But yeah, just appreciate those wonderful things that happen. And those moments in time where you go, wow, that's pretty cool. And I think we really need to appreciate and be really grateful for the little things we pass on to people. And I think being with Bardware has made me realise how much even the smallest thing can make somebody smile. And yeah, it's just so worth it. Anyway, on that note, before I get all emotional and daft, I will love you and leave you because it's now 32 minutes long and you're going to be bored poopless by the end of this. So I will love you and leave you. Thank you for joining me on my completely random chatty ramble today. Just sort of felt I needed to share that, really. And just give you an insight to sort of how my mind works. Nothing really constructive, just a chatty ramble. So thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for listening to me rambling on. And I will hopefully catch up with you all soon. Speak to you soon. Have a good one. Lots of love. Bye.